Nairobi, Kenya, Africa, and the world. This is After Hours on your home of sugar, spice, and everything nice. And Kev, your local energy provider, welcome to After Hours. If you're just joining us, no, he's going to introduce himself. I just want you to know that you can actually stream live on www.spicefm.co.ke. I'm still live on Facebook as well as on YouTube, and the phone lines are open anytime. You can jump into this conversation. You can dial the number 0719012600. Right now, the one and only Sankara, Nyagaya. You guy. So this is actually a friend of mine. He's been in this industry. When I say industry, I mean he's been in the national conversation for a very good time, a long time rather. And he is from the Rastafari Society of Kenya. Karibu sana.
Asante sana, Kev.
It's been such a long while, you guy.
Yeah.
It's been a while. How's everything? How's your life, bro?
Everything is good. Everything is positive.
Yeah.
We appreciate also the Almighty for the gift of life and good health.
Yeah.
Yeah. An opportunity also to keep on pushing.
Yeah. So Sankara, many people do not know that you're actually also, aside from an activist, you're a politician.
Yes.
I find that so interesting because. Not so. I find it interesting because I didn't expect it to happen. I just find it interesting that you're very passionate about certain conversations like the environment, and of course marijuana, which we'll talk about in just a bit.
Yeah.
But also politically speaking, you're part of a very prolific party.
Yeah.
ODM.
Yeah.
How has that experience been?
You wanted us to start from there. Okay.
I just had to.
Thank you, Kev, for that opportunity. And I'm very political because it's only through politics and also in being Rasta and also involving myself with leadership and politics is also something that has also had me under a lot of fire. Because, Rastafari has that principle of non-political.
Yes, true.
But when we make further analysis on, what politics really means, it really means the distribution of resources. So, I'm there politically speaking, action-wise, ideologically, and I started off... Of course, in the previous election, I was with the UDA.
You're part of UDA?
Yeah, I was part of the UDA in the previous election.
Sankara, you keep on surprising me.
Yeah, but
okay.
After a long search, wide consultations, I moved my political ideologies to align with those of the ODM party.
Exactly.
So I'm currently a member of the ODM Youth League.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And how's everything? How's it going? How's the journey been?
Very positive.
Yeah.
Very uplifting. Lots of political education from our seniors, likes of Professor Nyongo, the governor for Kisumu County, Dr. Buru Odinga. The likes of Victor Nyagaya, So it's been also an inspirational journey and a great opportunity also to learn from the predecessors.
So you're also the chairman of Hemp and Cannabis Committee, Rastafari Society of Kenya.
Yes.
Talk about that committee and what it's about.
I talk about the committee. I would have talked about the society.
Okay. You're going to start with the society and then the committee.
Yeah. So the Rastafari Society of Kenya is a national outfit that was established in the year formally 2017.
Oh, interesting.
Registration-wise under the Office of the Attorney General under the Societies Act. So the society basically is taking care of the rights and the welfare of the Rastafari people nationally, to make sure that we are, represented in the right way and in the respectful way, and also to make sure that the rights and the welfare of all who subscribe to the Rastafari faith and levity also are taken care of through the society.
Yeah. So at what point did the idea come about to start the society, to form the society?
Yeah, so...
What was the whole idea? When did it actually click that, this is the perfect time? So, of course, it was in 2017, but due to what?
Due to emerging social challenges and issues that were facing the Rastafari people, especially in regard to humane treatment from government agencies like the National Police Service. For a very long time, the image of a Rastaman has been associated with wrongdoing, law breaking, and just the negative vices.
Yeah.
So this one informed the elders to try and have that formal recognition from government, because you find that there was a lot of harassment from police, both for the elders, the women, and even the children in places of worship, in public spaces. If something comes up that is negative in a space, the first person that the police would feel comfortable in questioning on or harassing or putting in a corner is a Rastaman, and that one hasn't gone down well with our society.
Yeah.
So it pushed the elders to try and seek that formal recognition from government, so that if government can be able to recognize that there is a presence of such a people in this nation, then it would allow also the elders to continue with the pursuit for the right representation and also the welfare of our people.
So you constantly talk about the elders.
Yeah.
So before the formation of the society, how are those conversations like? How was the mobilizing? I mean, how did it go about for you guys to decide, okay, fine, let's call Sankara, let's call such and such, let's sit down. And what were the challenges like while you were actually having these conversations just before the society was formed?
Yeah. So, Rastafari, levity is personal conviction, it's personal knowledge of self. So once you're able to know yourself, then you'll be able also to communicate and be at ease with the fellow Rasta people who are conscious of themselves, because Kev, enough of people in the world don't know themselves.
I agree.
And the principle in Rastafari is, inward searching and inward knowledge before even coming outside and start expressing or even wanting to know the other person, what the other person is all about. You must fully understand self. So it was very, very difficult, to be able to commune as Rastafari people, because you find, like I mentioned, through colonization, because you find the image that the Rastaman wears is the image of our freedom fighters, the likes of Dedan Kimathi. Actually, if I can give you a brief history of the genesis of Rastafari image of the dreadlocks, was inspired by the Mau Mau uprising here in Kenya, because you find that when the Mau Mau was pushing against colonialism, the British press would, make photographs and write about this uprising. And the people, the Africans who were taken from Africa to go enslave there in Babylon, in the UK, in London, were able to see in the newspapers images of African people who had risen against colonialism. This one brought a lot of inspiration to those slaves who were there, and they immediately embraced the image of self-rule and self-reliance and self-determination and resilience as that of the ones who are wearing the dreadlocks. And that is also how now the Rastafari culture was also able to borrow that image of the Rastaman and embraced it to date. So having that image through the years, with also the narrative of the colonialist, that image is a dreadful image and is not the right image in the society, was able also to come down even to the local administration, like say the chiefs. So one of the challenges that the society experienced before the formal the formal registration as a society was that it was very difficult to communicate. You couldn't sit down 6, 7, 10, 20 Rastas just talking about your welfare.
Interesting.
Your children, and how your future, the challenges. Because the police would come in and they would ask, what is going on here? Who are these people? Who are you? Aren't you guys terrorists? Look at yourself, all of you here. The way you have gathered and you have dreadlocks. And what are you guys planning? Are you planning to do something mischievous? Are you planning to, attack the government? So that fear has been constantly been there. And the lack of the formal recognition from government suppressed the community, even in ways that we could not even gather for prayer. We could not even gather to share something little that we had, thought, or food, or knowledge, or anything. So that formal recognition really uplifted the society to a level of even interacting with other government agencies, something that wasn't there before, and also that just peaceful gathering and coming together as a people.
Brilliant. Wow, well said. Rastafari is often misunderstood.
Yeah.
What are some of the misconceptions, especially in this modern Kenya, that you would like to address, or that the society is trying to address ever since it was established in this modern day Kenya, if not Africa?
Yeah. So some of the misconceptions that are usually commonly associated with the Rastafari people, for example, is that they are junkies or they are druggies. They're just people who are okay with using drugs. That's a very false narrative, because the Rastafari is actually strongly against drug abuse. An upright
drug abuse means including alcohol.
Including alcohol. Alcohol is a prohibited product, just like the Muslim in the Rastafari. The Rastafari institution does not promote alcoholism. It does not promote cigarette smoking. It does not promote drug abuse. So we are a society that is aware of the predicaments of drug abuse. So even in our upbringing, the elders are very particular about the society keeping away from anything to do with drugs. And to our interpretation, we also consider even the pharmaceuticals as drugs. There are the sleeping pills that people are dependent on.
Yeah.
There are these painkillers also that people take.
Family
planning pills, to us, all those are drugs.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fascinating how you put it.
Yeah.
Now,
so another misconception is also that Rasta people are lawbreakers and they are violent, and they are they are not. They are just rebellious. They're not people who are willing to go with the system. So that is also another notion about the Rastaman that is not right. People are very peaceful people. They are very loving people, and they are people also who are very tolerant also with other people who share different cultures.
Interesting. Many people just assume Rastafari is just but a lifestyle, like any other lifestyle out there. They just narrow it down to a way of life. But there's a spiritual foundation to Rastafari that many people are not aware of. Maybe you can elaborate that. Yeah, you can just educate us.
So Rastafari is a spirituality. It's a culture that has been existent for, I can say, almost 150 years now, from when our elders, formally organized the Rastafari institution, the likes of Mutambaruka and others. So basically, we are aware that in your search for there is the difference between the spirituality and the religion.
Yeah.
So spirituality is self-consciousness of your flesh and also your soul. So Rastafari as an institution guides the spiritual aspect of man. So from Rastafari, you're able to get the teachings and the principles, which are mostly from our ancient ancestors, like the likes of Mekatilili wa Mwenza, the likes of Queen Nyabingi of Uganda, the teachings of Bob Marley, Peter Tosh. Those are our prophets, So when you're able to follow and listen to the teachings that these elders give, then you're able to get that spiritual guidance and nourishment. When you're able to go through the speeches of His Majesty, who was a defending emperor for the African empire, the defending king for the African empire, you are able to learn the ways and the Pan-African principles that are able to guide us as a people to achieve that self-will, self-determination, and sovereignty.
Yeah.
So I can remember even when growing up, at some point, my mother would really encourage me and tell me, you see now, right now, you are doing your things very well. And I can even see the only thing that is hindering you from success is your hair. So I wanted to encourage you, if you really would want to secure that opportunity, go and shave your hair, and then you present yourself, and be rest assured you'll be able to get that opportunity. And I kept on telling her, Mom, my hair is not for fashion, or it didn't have a meaning of beauty to me. It's a covenant between me and my Creator, that I will hold firmly to what He would want me to do or represent as I do my time here on earth. So for many people outside there who perceive Rastafari levity as a fashion and style that you adopt and then later on you discard, that is misplaced perception of the Rastafari.
Let me ask you something, Sankara. Yeah. Wow, you have a way of talking about these things that's very easy to understand. Mm-hmm. Now, how does okay, first of all, talk about the red, gold, and green.
Yeah.
How does it fit into the spirituality, or is it a different entity on its own? Like the idea between red, gold, and green, the colors, the Rastafari colors. Yeah.
First and foremost, the red, gold, and green was the first flag that was hoisted in the African land, by the king, his emperor, King Selassie. And it has a very deep representation even in the Rastafari culture, because you find that the gold is there to represent abundance, riches, and the sun, because according to Rastafari principles, the sun, Ra, is actually the sun. Is the most powerful. It is through the sun, it is through Ra that we are able to see the might and the power of the Creator, of the Almighty.
Okay.
Because it is through Ra, the sun, that there is a lot, that stems out even a lot of existence.
Correct.
Both human, animal, and even plants. So the gold is very symbolic, even in representing the gold itself, which is an element that is found here in abundance in Africa, and plays a role, because even in your brain there are traces of gold. The brain actually is dependent on heavy metals like brain, for evolution. So then we have the green, which represents the nature. Rastafari and the nature is one. You cannot separate the two, because in the principles and the teachings of Rastafari, I am equal to that ant, because in my own wisdom, no matter how I would want even to to explain or to say whatever. I cannot be able to comprehend how that ant came into existence, even if I'm given all the resources and the time. There's nothing that I can do about it. So you cannot separate Rastafari from nature. We are one. That's why we you find there's that lots of reverence and respect to nature. To the hills, to the water bodies, to the forests, and to the ecosystem.
And that's why you're so passionate about certain conversations, like, of course, climate change.
Yes.
You believe in climate change, do you?
I believe in climate change.
Yeah, I remember the last time we had a conversation, you had I think you had a project you were working on. Yeah, and you've also represented the country in certain conversations to do with climate change.
Yes.
What about cannabis? How does it fit into the Rastafari spirituality and Rastafari in itself? How does cannabis fit into that, into what you just described to us?
So the red, I was coming to the red.
Oh yeah, the red, real quick, before we before we talk about cannabis.
So the red is very simple. It is actually there to represent life, the life of the living things. Man and animals, and the purity also of the blood, because it is the operating system of the living things. So it is also to honor, the creation of the Almighty. When we talk about cannabis in the Rastafari
theology and spirituality, how does it fit in?
It is a very integral plant. It is actually a gift that man was given by the Almighty, because it serves many purposes. When you talk about spirituality, you cannot talk about spirituality without material. Spiritual and material go hand in hand, because now I'm in your presence or you're in my presence and we're having a conversation, but what I can see is the flesh, but there's that I cannot see, that is Kev, so that spirituality has to be also manifested through flesh, and the manifestation of spirituality is now where the gift of cannabis, which is the holy tree of the tree of life, comes in, because the flesh has challenges, that it goes through. There are health challenges, and even probably before I go to the health challenges, the flesh, for the flesh to be able to attain the optimum levels for getting into that spiritual realm, cannabis has to play a role, because you remember the flesh is very weak, and is highly susceptible to, ratification, So when you have the cannabis plant is supposed to help the flesh, to be able to attain those levels of spiritual manifestation, so that you, as Kev, you are able to get into a realm that is a spiritual realm.
So I want to jump in there before you continue. So somebody who is opposed to what you're saying can argue and say there are many religions out there who practice certain, spiritual things. For example, how they go about their prayer. The way they have a spiritual lifestyle doesn't really require cannabis. What they do is just probably, meditate. You just silence your brain, be still, and you can align to higher power. You don't necessarily need cannabis. At the same time, I guess also from a Kenyan perspective, the authority, I would imagine, would be very concerned about the use of cannabis, because they say it's a gateway drug to other things. Some people use cannabis for their own reasons, for example, just for recreational purposes. They use it to, I don't know, for whatever reason. And due to that, they tend to look at it as a very toxic substance, something that can actually ruin society if not controlled. What would you say about that? What would your response be to people like those? And then, of course, you can continue talking about, the connection between cannabis and theology and the spirituality when it comes to Rastafari.
So, Kev, I think, it's very unfair for somebody who's not Rasta, to be critiquing or to be talking about the Rasta-livity and how the Rasta perceive something like cannabis in their setup or in our setup. Because if I would want also to make a contrast now with the other religions, they don't use cannabis to get to that level, to rise to that level, But there are other things that are in existence in those setups that isn't inexistent in our setup, Like take an example of the offering, Sadaka, the offering that people give. That is, in the Rastafari teachings and principles, that is something that is not even is totally unacceptable, to use the word of the word and the teachings of the Almighty to lure the masses, so that you are able to get a coin or two, for whatever reasons that you would give, but it would not sit well, or it's not in our business as Rastafari people to poke our nose into those other religious institutions and start looking at how they're doing their things, how their cultures have been, how their fabric has been. No. I don't think that is a proper conversation. I think the most important thing is the sovereignty of people. People need sovereignty, people need freedom, and people also have a right of association and belonging. So it would be okay for them to have their fears. That is all right. But it would be mature for them to allow the Rasta people to be.
I guess are their fears, I can also say, are their fears justified?
Their fears are not justified. Like to us, that's propaganda, because it's not a drug. I started by saying we are not druggies, So when we talk about cannabis conversation, we are not talking about a drug. We are talking about a God-given gift. God, the Almighty, who created it, gifted it to us.
Right.
And we know how to use it. And we have had enough education, even from our ancestors and our elders over the years, on how to handle it, And since it is a God-given gift, then if you mishandle it, or if you use it in a way that it is not supposed to be used, then there are also consequences to it.
Yeah. Just like anything else out there. I mean, too much of something can be bad. If you abuse anything, even if it's something that's perceived to be good, it can actually have a detriment to probably your health.
True.
Let's take a short break and then we come back and continue with this conversation. We are on Culture Kitchen, and I'm hanging out with Sankara Nyagaya. He's the chairman, Hemp and Cannabis Committee from the Rasta Society of Kenya, and we're talking about the petition for spiritual use of cannabis in Kenya. I've got some avenues by Kimali Male, Praz, refugee camp also. Right now it's 30 minutes to 9.
24/7 around the world, non-stop.